Unrelating podcasts are meant to be for education and entertainment. They don't constitute a service or advice. For personal struggles, please reach out to a medical or mental health professional.
Michelle, there's a lot of things that give me anxiety in life, but one of them that is in like my top 5 or top 7 is the idea of our parents getting older, right? And in dealing with their aging and their loss, what that's going to be like for me and for my family.
Yeah, I think personally, I have the same anxiety about losing my parents, and I look forward to our topic today and our guest today, just having a space to talk about that and process what it feels like to live with that dread. And also maybe we can touch on some ways or steps we can take to deal with that.
Welcome to Unrelating with Kel and Michelle, and I'm one of your hosts, Kelly. With me is my co-host, Michelle, a licensed marriage and family therapist who's been providing individual and couples therapy for over a decade. Together, we'll explore how we engage in relationships, why we do what we do, and what causes people to unrelate. So today we're joined by Gavin from Florida. Hey, Gavin, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing great. Thanks for being here and really appreciate you opening up about this topic. Today, we want to talk about coping with aging parents, including caring for them as they get older, and then how to deal with the pain and emotional trauma that comes from losing a parent. So, Gavin, why don't you start by telling us more about yourself?
Well, I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan. And then when I was 19, I moved to California. And then while I was out there, my parents, they ended up, they retired and moved to Florida, where I am now. And I'm kind of always I'm the youngest of 3 children. My brother was born in 1960, and then my sister 70, and then I was born in 1979. So my parents have always been older than a lot of my friends' parents, you know what I mean? So they've always kind of been, just kind of like not out of the loop, but just kind of had their own other, like they were friends with some of my friends' parents, but then they had their own group of friends. So and then with my brother and sister, I didn't really hang out with them as much. Still, close to my sister. My brother has passed away, sadly. But so with my mom and dad, always had a great relationship, but I'm kind of the young kid compared to my group of friends with the older parents. So, and then when my dad was getting a little dementia-ish and stuff, I moved to Florida to kind of hang out with them and hang out and just kind of spend time and help out if I needed to in any way. So that's why I've been down here for a while now, kind of helping out my mom now. So who's fine, but she, just helping out with stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much the short backstory of my situation here.
There's a lot to unpack here, but I think you really touch on a lot of topics that people our age, in particular, our generation, really is just starting to deal with, right? Which is the concept of our parents are getting older. My parents are in their 70s, mid 70s, still in relatively good health, but I certainly am starting to become more aware of their mortality, and they're getting older and getting slower. And I'm in California, they're in Michigan, so it's a little bit of a concern for me. About being there for them. They're divorced, so that's also a factor too, because they may not have the support system that they need. And I think this is really a topic that a lot of people can relate to. Obviously, we're all going to go through this, and we're all going to get older, right? So,
yeah.
You bring a unique perspective because you're already there. You're dealing with it. You've dealt with it. I know it scares me, and I'm sure Michelle can bring her perspective in terms of what kind of anxiety we're dealing with when we're talking about our parents getting older.
Yeah, and I kind of have 2 perspectives. The personal one, where that's a fear of mine since I was, in my 20s, 30s, is that idea of losing my parents. I have a good relationship with them. So there's that baseline anxiety or fear of like, someday that's going to happen and it's going to be devastating. And I'm already anticipating that. But professionally, I think you guys are both touching on that word anxiety because you are kind of anticipating or dreading that. And also, it changes your role. And anytime we transition our role in life, it's hard. So it doesn't matter if you're 10, if you're 30, if you're 50, if your parents are alive and you have a relationship with them, you're their kid and you're the person who's getting taken care of. And you know how we all go home for the holidays and immediately regress and become, our teenage selves. That can be the dynamic even when you're a fully grown adult with your own family. So this idea, I think, of transitioning from being the kid in the relationship to either having to take care of an aging parent or losing the aging parent, no longer having them looking over you, that causes a lot of dissonance when you're realizing that you have to take on a different role than the one you've had your entire life.
Definitely. It's so weird. I mean, I still, because I'm here, I still get, now I'm like, joke with my mom, like, I'm the kid. I'm hungry, just messing around like that. But yeah.
Ma, make me a sandwich.
Like, I'm like, she's like, do it yourself. I'm like, oh yeah. I'm not like 5. But I like to mess with her like that. But yeah, it is. It's weird. It's just, it's not like, I mean, nothing's like it was in the past, no matter what, any situation, but it's fun. It's just different. There's a lot of, like you said, worrying all the time, just like no matter what, like even if I don't know, like I'm in my room all day or something, and across the house, I'm like, go to check, just say hi to be like, is everything all right? You know what I mean? Stuff like that, which I wouldn't, a few years ago or however long ago, it wouldn't pop into my head that much. But now I'm like, oh, I got to make sure everything's okay and help out.
Gavin, take us back to that time when you did move back with your parents, and as far as your relationship with your father, because what was that like when you came back? And I know he was going through his issues. So how did you sort of relate to that with your dad?
When I first moved here, which is, I mean, it's not Detroit, but it's like, you might as well say going home, because it's mom and dad. So like when I moved here, it was weird because he was still okay. And then as time obviously went on, it got worse and worse. So like there'd be a lot more like less talking to him about just like, I don't know, every day, just like anything. It'd have to be kind of more focused, specific topics. Like if we were talking about golf or sports or friends of his back in the day, and it would get worse, yeah, but more and more focused on one thing or the same routine every day of things to make sure he wasn't confused or, make sure he's on point with what was going on. So it was really sad, obviously. And so that was like a big, change from just one, it just, as time went on, it just, as things do, it just got a little worse and sad. Obviously, like I said, I'm using the word obviously a lot because it's just, it is what you think it would. It's what you kind of thought it would be, which sucks. You're just like, oh, it's like most days you're like, it's not going to probably get much better. So.
And how long was that?
Over years. I mean, I don't know. And I don't know if I'd say that luckily over years, because you get to spend more time and, but it also can be, it's sad, more to get sadder because it's just, you're watching it happen, and it's like, oh, so every day you're like, maybe he'll be better today. And there were good days and bad days, but for the most part, it would get worse and then, upsetting and feel, always feeling obviously bad for him. But then in a weird way, some days, maybe I go to sleep that night and be like, well, that was a great day. Like we had fun. There wasn't really he knew it was up. We'd watch a Michigan football game or we'd go hit golf balls or we'd just sit around and, have fun. And so that was like, you took those days, you didn't take those days for granted because the very next day it could be like, it's back to kind of shaky ground with what he's dealing with and what he knows and doesn't know and what's going on or not.
Yeah. So that's exactly right, Gavin. Whenever you have someone in your life who has any kind of slow or progressive cognitive decline. It's that push pull. It's like, it fucking sucks to watch it happen and have it be a slow process. But at the same time, you highlight kind of the gift you get by being able to have more time. And maybe later we can talk about what to do moving forward when you have the time, or you deliberately make the time to talk to your aging parents about the things you want to say before they're gone.
Yeah. We did. It was nice in that kind of, like in a melancholy, but like, you want to do it, but it's also like, you're kind of saying goodbye in a way before you can't. And it's really sad to go through. And then he, like I said, I don't know if he kind of was like, he knew that we kind of were having a talk just to like remember things and like, hey, Dad, you told me that story a long time ago. Do you remember that story you told me about whatever, maybe back in, way before I was born? And he'd tell me, and I'd try to try obviously to take it all in, as much as I could and remember everything and even like write stuff down if I remembered to. And cause sadly I didn't know if I wouldn't hear that story again or something, and so it was really sad. And, my sister also knew obviously all this was, everything that was happening. So she was really, good with coming to visit, and also even over the phone asking my mom mostly. My dad was never good on the phone anyway, so it's like you're like, hello, okay, and you're like, all right, good talk. So, and he was the best, hilarious, like his dry sense of humor and so funny, and but not exactly the most like, hey everybody, like go out, like that. So so my sister would take all that down, and she is literally like the family historian. She like documented every story, and I just, like I said, I have most of it in my mind, but a lot of it, and if I can't remember something that I know he said or something, I just call her up and I say, what is that? Dad said something silly about it, a guy in medical school 60 years ago. And she'd be like, oh yeah, doctors. And I'm like, okay, I don't know how she's like, let me just go through my files here and I'll find it all figured out. And I'm like, so she's the family historian, so that's good. But I try to remember, obviously, as we both got older, my dad and I, remember everything I could and take note of it, that just in case, this might not come up again.
You mentioned your sister. How did how did the whole family kind of deal with this? Or was it dealt differently? And was there some synergy in terms of like, okay, handling different tasks and sort of dealing with sort of just kind of managing, this whole process?
Yeah, we both, well, again, since my brother wasn't really around for most of this, part of his, kind of mind deteriorating in that way, my sister and I, we connected and said, because especially it was good since I was here, I could take care of that kind of, I don't know if you call it day to day, because, it wasn't like a scheduled, okay, we do this today, we did, but like if anything popped up, obviously I was here, which was good. And then she could come in and she would ask me, what's going on? Should I do something else? Whatever she could do, obviously, to help from California, she would do. And so, yeah, it was kind of it's a team effort, I'd say. And then it just, depending on what the subject of the bad or the good, we would do whatever we could do and to help him out and help my mom out. And, there's almost no, I wish we could have done this or we should have done. It's like, I think we did a good job. So now with him being gone and it's always going to be sad, but, it was years ago, a few, years back, I don't think we have any thing sad to say about what we could have done. And there's the other thing is we're no animosity between any of us being like, you screwed that up, we should have done this. So everybody's fine that way, which is amazing. For again, obvious reasons that you want to be in the relationships still great and love each other. So that's good for us. We lucked out.
Because I can see a world where that does happen with families where there is conflict. It's like you see you see it in TV shows and movies, and but it is common, I think, for families to struggle with this kind of process. And I would hope that in my family, when it comes to that, we're going to be hopefully on the same page.
Right.
Well, I would recommend talking about it beforehand, because that's where a lot of the conflict comes is people make assumptions or they take on roles and then resent those roles. Or, everyone kind of has this unspoken feeling about things. So.
Right. Like I thought what's not my problem. I thought you were going to do, and you're like, then everybody's mad at each other. And then you also can forget, like, well, we have to stop being mad. This is not about us being mad at each other right now. We got to forget it. We can be mad at each other later. Hopefully we won't. But we have to make sure he's okay and make sure, this is stupid to be bitching and moaning about it with each other. We all love each other. And let's just put that aside.
Although I would also say that sometimes when people don't talk about it ahead of time or have clear rules, like instead of grieving what's happening and, collectively, feeling the loss, you channel it into your conflict with other people.
Yeah.
And, that's one way to get out the pain that you're feeling. It's more tangible. And so to remind people that it's probably not about the fight you're having with your sibling. It's probably that you're just really sad about the situation.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, it's like, I just need to let out emotions in any way because so it's turned into just, instead of me being sad and maybe, crying in my room or just moping around, it's like I've had it. I finally need to let it out in some way. And you're here. So I'm going to yell at you because I can. And then that's going to make them unleash their feelings on you. And now you're just in an argument that doesn't have to do, that you shouldn't be having because it's not important. You need to focus and work together to make sure that he's okay and that everybody's having the best time you can together with him and together, just because, one day somebody's going to be gone and you're not going to be able to hang out and have fun and smile. You're just not. And it's silly it's hard to not have, the arguments are going to happen, but you have to try to put those aside and not be selfish about the situation. So,
yeah,
and that way that always it sucks, but maybe it brought us closer together, one of those deals, but boy, it sure would be still better to obviously have him around, but sometimes it's not the way it goes.
Gavin, as your dad's health started to fail, did he go into hospice or was he at home?
He was at home let me think. He was at home, and then we had if I'm remembering this correctly, a caregiver would come over every once in a while and kind of hang out and make, if my mom had to go out for a while, for a few hours or something, I would be fine. But then if I was working, or something, and then he'd come, or I'd be here too, and then we'd all just kind of hang out, and then, but mostly until the end of having to go into the hospital and stuff like that, he was here and around and I have to imagine that other people have it a million times worse. I not even imagine, they do, which again, weird way to say it. We were lucky, is one way to look at it, that it wasn't worse than it could have been. Probably zillions of people have had it a million times worse than we did. So it's one, if you can look at it that way, that it's good. But yeah, no, mostly he was here at home, and that's the way we wanted to. We didn't want to, he liked to he wasn't on the move all the time anyway, like that. Like some people, they lose, you hear about he wandered off, and stuff like that. Like that never really happened. So he wanted to be here and watch, hockey and sports and golf. Oh my God, Golf Channel's on 100 hours a day. And so, which, he should, be happy and do what he wants to do. And obviously whatever is coming, let him live his best life while he can and be happy, no matter what. So that's what we did. We're like, you want the golf on? You want the hockey on? That was a lot of.
Yeah.
I love that because
sports. Yeah, not a lot of reading, not a lot of this, but he just TV and sports, and that's what made him smile and laugh. So and have fun.
And I think when someone's sick, there's a tendency from family or even from professionals to infantilize them or just treat them like a patient. And
Mm-hmm.
they lose their voice because everyone's speaking for them or making decisions for them at that point. And I love that you
Right.
guys gave him opportunities to make choices and to have a
Yeah.
voice.
Yeah, because that's true. That's a good point too. Because yeah, I mean, he's an adult that's lived. Talk. And my father was a neurosurgeon. And, talk to him like he's a baby. If I'm 80 years old and 90 years old, and you're talking to me like I'm a child, and be like, I'm gonna, I want to, wanna slap you around a little bit. Like, don't talk to me like that. Show me the respect that I deserve. And he deserved respect. Just so we never treated him like a. Even if he had needed help or anything, we weren't, come here, little guy. Like, none of that. No
Right.
way. It's not the way to do that.
You
And
maintain
nobody would like
dignity.
that.
Yeah. In a
Yeah. Nobody
situation.
wants to be
Yeah.
talked down to like that or treated like a child. So we always made sure that we treated him with the utmost respect, for sure, no matter what the situation.
Yeah, and I think I'm reflecting. I feel like my issue personally is avoidance because I know that
Mm.
there are conversations that need to happen, particularly about logistics, finding out what their wishes are and where their finances are and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I just find myself when I'm with them just not wanting to bring it up or ruin a nice moment and I know other people can relate to that.
Yeah.
I've heard that before. But it's one of those things that you have to do it and you have to find a way to communicate and plan and have a plan. But when I'm in the moment, it's really hard to shift a conversation to that and give it the gravitas it needs without really dwelling on the fact that we're talking about their mortality in such a
Yeah.
specific and kind of cold way.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had similar conversations with my mom where she already has her gravestone picked out. She already ordered it. She already has her site, the plot. It's like a family plot, and that's all set to go. So literally, like, she's checking all of her boxes, and she's in great health. But I think she and I have been pretty transparent talking about a lot of these things, and she, and I'm on her will. I've been helping her with her finances and her will, and so I've been a little more involved with my mom, and that's really has a lot to do with the fact that I'm the oldest, and she's single. On my dad's side, he got remarried, and he's a little more closed up about it, and I don't really have a lot of conversations with him about that kind of stuff. I probably should, and I don't know, for some reason it's harder to talk to him about it. But my mom, we're pretty open about all the things that need to happen and will happen. But again, I hope that's a long ways away. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you never know, and I guess that's the scary part, right?
The sadness of being like, well, let's talk about when you're gonna kick, and that it's like nobody wants.
Right.
I don't want to talk about that. Like, so do I get all your money, or how does that work? And it's like, geez, I'm right here. Like, so that's never.
But now that your dad is gone, do you feel like I feel? Do you feel more, almost like do you feel more responsible for your mom and her situation, and you almost feel like you've kind of taken on a bit of more of a paternal role?
Yeah, definitely. I think we both. Well, we both help each other equally. But now I'm kind of not like man of the house, but like if something needs to be done, not because that makes me sound like I'm Mr. Like, oh, I can get there and fix the plumbing. Like, no, I have to call somebody. I don't know what I'm doing. But like when what I mean, like just anything that needs to be done, that I can do, or even can try to do, then I do it. And that also goes for not just like physical things or stuff like that, but just any. I don't know how to say it, but like anything that needs to be done, no matter what it is, if I can do it for my older mother, then obviously I'm going to do it, no matter what. Even if I can't do it, I'll be like, oh, I'll give it a shot. Knowing in my mind, like, this is no good. This tree's going to fall on the house, but I'll give it a try.
It's interesting because I think all three of us have relationships with their parents that are, mostly healthy and throughout our lives. So I'm just thinking of people who don't, who have more conflicted relationships, or there's more complicated layers to it. So I'm just curious to both of you what advice you would give to someone who knows that their parents may be gone soon but doesn't have a good relationship with them.
It's hard to say because I mean, it never, again, selfishly, like it never popped. It never popped into my head then because I was just focused on my own situation and our family situation. And now I don't, I don't even know. You have to you'd have to just try so hard to be, to love, to forget, the focus on the time that you have together is all I can say. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing, and try to, anything that you're like, oh, that really ticks me off. Just kind of, you have to forget it no matter how hard it is. And talk things out and be like, let's squash any problems we have or have had and just forget it.
I called my mom the other day, and I was in the car for a while, like an hour, and we just were catching up, she at one point she just really thanked me for calling her, and just talking, and I'm like, well, and it occurred to me, I'm like, wow, I'm gonna one day I'm gonna be driving in my car, and I'm not gonna be able to call her, and it suddenly like dawned on me all of a sudden. I'm like, wow, that hit like a punch in the face. I was like, wow, that was really sort of for her to say that to me, and then me to realize that there will come a day where I can't do this anymore, and it's really, really hard to wrap my head around. And I'm sure, it is what it is, right? That's her favorite saying. It is what it is. but
Yeah.
but
No, I mean, I'm having that preemptive heartache all the time now. Like I was on the phone with my parents yesterday, and they get on speakerphone, and their usual antics. They're just so ridiculously cute, talking, and the things they say. And I just kept thinking, yeah, when exactly like you, Kelly, like there will be a day when we can't do that.
I worry about my wife because she's so close to her mom and dad, so close, and I find it so and admirable and so beautiful in many ways. But then I'm like, I dread the day when she loses one of them because it's just going to be a heartache.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think of that sometimes too. I look at my friends and both their parents, and they're loving, everybody loves each other. And it doesn't pop into my head often, but I'll be like, and I don't say it to be, Debbie Downer, but it's like, enjoy these times, guys, enjoy them.
It's true.
And because they'll be like, oh, geez, Gavin, like, okay, thanks for bringing up sadness in our little fun time. But it is true. It's like, oh, they have it, they got like I'm some old man, like, you guys got it good back in my day.
Well,
but it's true.
That is one suggestion I would have because, I did throw that curveball at you guys, which you can't relate to, which is a, hard relationship with your parents. But when you have a good relationship with your parents and the end is coming, to deliberately find times to, praise them, to tell them about their impact on you, to basically like live eulogize them, which I know is an icky term, but
yeah.
In the same way that you might regret things you didn't say to a parent that hurt you, you may also regret not saying ways that a parent impacted you positively once they're gone, because once they're gone, it's too late to tell them. But while they're still here, you can share with them the ways that they were either amazing or not amazing, but either way, you're sharing how you feel while they're still alive.
Yeah, without a doubt. I do that. Yeah, you don't want to think about it like you said, like kind of a pre-eulogy type of situation, but you want to be like, you're always so helpful and you're so great and thank you and love you, and and even telling stories and saying, tell me again, what wasn't there, you want to take all of it in as much as you can while you can, because you're not going to be able to later on. It's, as cliche as it all sounds, like I said before, like it's just one, yeah, you're like, cherish the time you have together, because you never know, and you want to, even if you're in a bad place with somebody, your parents or something, you want, no matter who it is, you'd be like, in the long run, that's just not important. You want to remember all the good, fun, happy stuff. and not just silly, sad garbage that doesn't matter in the long run. So
Yeah, my mom actually said last time they were visiting us, she said, I regret not asking my parents more questions about how they grew up and their childhoods and their hopes and dreams. So she posed the question to me. She's like, "What do you want to know?" And it caught me off guard. I didn't really have anything, but then when I started thinking about it, I started asking her questions about, like, she's a biophysicist, she's brilliant. I'm like, was that the career you wanted? Or when you were a kid, her friendships? And I learned so much on that trip about her that I didn't know, having known her for decades, obviously. And yet I
Yeah.
was learning new
How
stuff.
long have you known your mother?
Exactly.
Yeah, I was born.
She's one of my oldest, dearest connections. Yeah, it was crazy how much I learned about her that I didn't know. And it was cool to reflect on that.
I think you remind me, like, the fact that I am closer to my mom than I am my dad, and it is harder for me to express myself with him. And maybe it's a guy thing. I don't know. I just feel like there's a little bit of a different dynamic with my dad. So, I wish that I hope to, that we have an opportunity to, get closer, as he gets older, like you were able to do with your dad. I feel like that's an opportunity not many guys get with their dads, and I don't know why that is. Maybe I'm a mama's boy. I don't know, but
Yeah, I don't know either. It's I think that, and I've thought about that too in the past, that I'm another reason why I'm the luckiest person in the world. I always tell myself that, no matter what, if it's what we're talking about now or anything. But I had and have different. It's, I guess, I don't know if it's hard to explain, but different relationship with my mom and dad separately, but both great, both 100% amazing, and the same when we're all together. And I'm just so lucky that that's the case. It sounds so, everything was perfect. This is, anybody listening out there can be like, oh, aren't you just Mr. Fancy Pants? Everybody has problems, obviously, but it's like, I lucked out. You picked a real boring person to talk to. But if you're going, what were the problems you had? I'd be like,
yeah, Gavin, if you could be slightly less well adjusted, that would be helpful to us.
Yeah, like, I'm sorry, everything was horrible. Start crying, like, I can't do that. Thank goodness. So everything was great.
No, but what I think you're doing, Gavin, and this is what I'm finding really helpful, is you're normalizing it and you're actually putting it in great context for me, because I do have an anxiety about this situation, but you've already gone through it, and you're actually bringing some really great perspective that maybe I need to hear, because you are putting it in a way, you're framing it in a way that really, really, I think, helps me and helps others who are scared of going through this doorway. Okay. I'm scared to go through that doorway, but you've walked through that doorway, and you know what? And you seem like you've come out in many ways a better person because of that experience. So I just needed to get where you're at. Well, I will get where you're at. Obviously, I will be there one day, but I just hope that I can walk through that door the same way and with the same sort of, positive outlook. You know what I'm saying?
But that's the point, right, Kel?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily by chance that things went well or that you were able to get through it. There's two parts to it. There's the situation and there's your attitude about the situation. And Gavin, a theme that keeps coming up for you is this idea of, like, care about what matters. Don't care about the stuff that doesn't matter. Prioritize, like, be grateful. All these things that you're talking about, that is contributing to why the situation is going well or why your relationship with your parents is good. And,
Right.
So you are contributing to it by how you are managing yourself and your feelings about it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I think for you guys saying that, I think nobody knows what it's going to be like and how you're going to act and have to go through whatever is going to happen. But I really did tell myself, just sitting like alone in my bedroom or something, like, okay, this is like back in years ago, like, this is starting to go down and there's nothing, I don't know if I said my dad had Alzheimer's. Like, he started slowly and getting worse. I don't even know if I said that, but so that was, and I always said, what a cruel thing to do, like a neurosurgeon genius and his brain lets him down. Like, are you kidding me? I've always said that that's just it. I don't know. That's just how horrible is that? But yeah, just kind of like, well, this is happening, and there's nothing. If there's nothing that we can do about it, so you just have to kind of come to real, like, face that fact, and then be, well, then if this is how it's going down, let's try to live it up and be happy. Just look at happy things and try your best to, you have to accept it eventually and go through all that, but like, try not to let it happen. Let that happen too, but try to focus on every day, kind of just waking up and being like, hey, happy face, happy times, everything's fine. And, again, not that you should let the other stuff not wash over you, but because it's gonna, but, try to just be as happy as you can all together and laugh and be silly and just kind of enjoy every second that you can with each other, because it's going to happen no matter what the situation. But in his situation, it was you knew it was happening. You saw it the whole way happening. You saw it going downhill slowly, and some days quickly, and you're like, ugh, well, this is just awful. So enjoy all the fun that you can, because, and when you're younger, like if I would have been 20 when this is happening, I wouldn't maybe I'd be on the phone with him or something and be like, okay, well, I'm meeting my friends, like, I don't want to be late, I have to go, or something, as an example. Now I'm like, I would not. And then but now it happened as I was a little older, thank goodness. The friends can wait another half hour. I'll talk to my dad. You know what I mean? That's more important. So, like you said, kind of prioritizing, like, my goofball friends will be waiting there in a half an hour, but I want to make sure I'm talk to my dad and hang out with him, or whatever the case, or my mom, or whoever it is in your life, as much as possible while you can, because one day you're not going to be able to.
And I think you'll never
The best
regret
way,
that
anyway.
approach, right? Like you talked about, looking back.
No, never,
You
never.
feel you can't underestimate the power of the peace you're able to feel looking back and saying, we did right by this. We did what we did. Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Like, it's like, I feel I keep saying lucky, I know, and I'm using the word obviously and lucky a lot, but there are reasons, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I can wake up every day and I think of my dad every second of every day, and it's nothing but smiles and laughs. And if there are tears, which there are sometimes, totally happy tears. No, I'm so lucky that I don't wake up, oh, I should have done this, like I said before, and we didn't do that. I wake up thinking like, oh, he was such a jerk that day, or, think bad stuff. Forget about it. I don't even know bad stuff. Even if there was, I've blocked it out. There's no need to, in my opinion, think about that. I just smile as much as every time I think about him, I think something fun and silly and smiling, and talking about him right now, I'm like laughing in my head, because I'm like, I picture him, like, if you walk in and be like, what are you doing? Like, oh, I'm on a podcast. He'd be like, oh, what? And I'd be like, oh, geez. Like, Dad, it's a thing. I'll tell you later. Like, that'll take 4 hours. It's funny, like, he would never know what this is I'm talking about right now. You go, I don't get it. I go, I know. Okay, you're a brain surgeon, but I've made this joke since I was 5. The man was a neurosurgeon. He could never program a VCR. Never. A million years. He would never be able to do it. But he's like, oh, brains? Yeah, I saved this guy's life. Gavin, how do I want to record the Red Wings game? I'll be like, oh my God.
It's funny. You mentioned, thinking about your dad in positive terms, because I know as I get older, I'm getting selective memory about my dad. So I remember being younger and having, probably a little bit of anger about things that may have happened when we were growing up, him being stern or the fights we may have had or disagreements. But now as I get older, I only remember the positive things, like us fishing, us hunting, us going for hikes. Like, I don't even remember a lot of the crap, if there was any, right? And that's okay, because I don't really want to remember that stuff anymore.
Who wants to remember crappy, shitty times? No. I don't. If there was, I'm glad I don't remember it.
Yeah, and that's all I think about now is like fishing. Fishing with my dad. That's really, or hiking, or sitting in a deer blind in Michigan, 2 of us for hours.
And how could it be better than that? Just having fun with your dad or your mom. It's like it's the
Yeah.
best.
I think that's the exercise, though, right? For people who are listening, it's, deciding whether there's negative unresolved things you need to address before they're gone, or whether it's positive things you want to share with them before they're gone. So you're realizing maybe you don't have anything you need to talk about to resolve negatively, but some people might out there, and
Oh yeah,
you got to figure that out before they're gone.
the best advice is forget that garbage and keep moving along.
Well,
Happy.
and I think that's a great way to frame this conversation, is ending on a positive note, and being and looking at the positive aspects of this, this loss.
But also sorry, Kel, but also understanding the impact, because, to get a little psychodynamic here, your relationship with your parents or primary caregivers is the first relationships you have. And for better or worse, they affect every other type of relationship you have. So, friendships, or of course, romantic relationships, there's a big impact on how your relationship with your parents has been.
Yeah, you want to make sure that everything is good. That it sounds so stupid, but it's just you want to reconcile, like I said, and make sure everybody's smiling and happy and on the same happy page, because you never know what's going to happen. And it's just I look back at everything, and I'm very, if it pops in my head during the day, I'm like, we did that the right way. We handled everything the way it should have been. We did it the right way.
What I always say, in a lot of different contexts, what I always say is, if you have the chance to heal, take it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah. If you any chance like that, don't be like, well, there'll be another day, or I'll just, take the time and to do it, heal, do what you need to do, and make sure everything and everyone is it's all loving the best you can, even if there were problems, forget it. It's not worth it. And yeah, like I'm sure everybody has problems, so it'll happen, but in the long run, it's better to just remember all the love and good times and fun stuff and laughter and all that type of stuff. So,
not to get religious, but do you think about your dad, like where he is now, or do you ever find yourself talking to your dad?
Oh yes, in hilariously awesome ways all the time. I personally, we're not a huge religious family, and I personally am agnostic. But I believe that I think that wherever he is, if you want to call it heaven or whatever people want to say, I know it's an amazing place, and I know that he is golfing. He's golfing 24 hours a day, 24 hours a day golfing, and that is, there's no human being could be happier than him on a golf course ever. I mean, like, and I'll talk to him. He's probably like swinging a club, listening right now with like an earpiece, and be like, yeah.
He's like, you messed with my swing.
Yeah,
Shh.
Yeah, he's like, Gavin, could you not talk in my backswing, please? No, sorry. So, but yeah, I talk to him all the time if I'm watching TV, or, whatever it is. It's funny. I'll just be like, oh, like, and I won't even say like my dad, like dad would like that, or I'd be like, oh, you're loving that right now. Like he's there, like he's in the room. I do that all the time, and it makes me feel good. Like it's like literally he's listening right now. He could be sitting on the on the couch or whatever, and being like, oh, okay, is that how you think? All right, just like like he's always around, no matter what. The way I feel, whether it's religious or just spiritual or whatever belief that I have, he's still around every day, all the time. Even if I do something stupid, I'll be like, Gavin, that was dumb. I'll be like, I know, I'm sorry. I'm like, you don't have to, get off my case. Like, Gavin, that's not the way you're supposed to. I'm like, I know, jeez. He didn't leave in my mind. I mean, physically, but not to me. He's still in my heart and my brain 24. He's obviously my brain. Like I said, he's a neurosurgeon. So he's in a million people's brains. Literally, he's been there. So he's put a little microchip of himself talking to everybody's mind. He was like twisting his mustache every day. Little did we know, he's like creating an army of himself
Well,
walking the earth.
his legacy lives on.
Yes, it does. No matter, I mean, my mom and I talk, oh, your dad would love this, or he's, if we watch a golf tournament, like he's watching it with us. Oh, he hit a shot like Dad does. He duck hooked it. I'll make fun of him all the time, and then he's making fun of me back all the time. And same with my mom. She'll be like, too, like stuff. Dad right now is up there laughing or making. We're both thinking the same thing. He's never left, just physically left. That's all. Which of course, is horrible. But it's good. It's good to have that. If you can have that, keep them in your mind and heart, or whatever. Either parent, obviously. If one out there can, just if you've always loved them and care about them, they're there, and they and if they loved you, they're there, watching you, whether you like them or not. They're watching you, being like, "What are you doing? Stop it."
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks, Gavin. So, this has been really, really fantastic conversation, and really helpful for me. I hope helpful for other people as well, and really enlightening in many ways, and kind of helped. I don't know. It just helps, I guess, sort of pull back the curtain a little bit on the process of grieving and the process of losing a parent. I think you can rest assured this is definitely going to, I think, help somebody else.
Well, I think it also just validates for people going through it, like that anxiety is real and it's normal, I guess.
Very much. Everybody goes, and everybody, it's another, I'll say it again, obviously, everybody goes through it, like it's the worst, but if you can keep try to block out the bad and keep the good.
No, but I really feel like this, I don't know, I can walk away having learned a little bit more, right? And that to me is ultimately, and that's our goal.
And also feeling some relief, like a lightened load. Like I shared my anxiety about this topic, and now I feel a little bit lighter.
Good. I feel good. I feel great. I think this is awesome. Talking, just no matter what the subject was, this was fun. But talking about what I feel, good talking about my dad more. And also, there's only so many times my mom and I could be like, remember the time? Like, yeah, I remember the time. Yes, we love to remember the time, but it's like, oh my God, we just talked about this yesterday. So, I can share these. It's nice to talk about it, like tell you guys little stuff about how I feel, and like I said, cathartic. And I just had my own little. Michelle, do I owe you anything for this hour?
No, we owe you. We owe you our gratitude.
My session.
And I think also sometimes we think that thinking of the person we lost is gonna open the pain door more than we want it to. But you're invigorated by the memories. And
right. It's definitely when you're feeling the pain right away. You're of course you don't think about. You think about the good stuff, but nothing is going to make you feel better right away. But yeah, like once you can get past that, which you're going to have to get, or you're going to have to go through it. You're going to feel like you're not going to get past it. You're going to be like, I'm going to feel like shit forever. Even though you're like, you can tell yourself this too shall pass, but like, you don't feel it. But then when it really does, I'll talk about my dad if there are any tears, which there usually isn't. Mm-hmm. They're super happy tears. Mm-hmm. I'll talk about my dad all day, every day, and be like, oh, he's the best. Like, again, just my situation. Some people might be like, I hated my dad. Luckily, I don't have to think that way. But I'll talk about him forever in a super happy way. And yeah, like I'm talking to, I'm going to get off. I'll be done here and I already feel great. I'm thankful for you guys.
And thank you for thanks
I'll
for
do
being
this anytime
accommodating.
For fun. I'll be like, I'm in a bad mood. Hey, put me on the podcast again. I'm in a crappy mood. Help me out.
Listen, if our podcast is someone's coping skill, I will be thrilled.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I mean, make someone feel good. You're making me feel happy. So I thank you.
Wow, that was pretty powerful, Michelle. I certain points during that conversation, I actually started to feel a little emotional, and hearing Gavin talk about his experience and then relating it to my life and my parents and my dad and I can't help but feel just get a bit emotional thinking about it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that it was comforting to be in a space where other people can relate to that anticipated loss. But it's also, I was getting a lump in my throat because I'm already feeling the loss before it's even happened because I dread it so much. So it was great to talk to someone who has experienced it already and is on the other side, but also just have the space to talk about how much it sucks to feel that impending grief already.
Yeah. Well, this is a good one, definitely. I hope people can listen to this and learn a little something, and maybe it's one of those topics you don't want to think about, but we have to,
and to know that you're not the only one. You're not crazy for having this anxiety, this unspoken feeling.
So, yeah, Michelle, ultimately, what's your takeaway? From a therapist point of view, what kind of advice would you give somebody who is dealing with stress, anxiety, dread about this topic?
If you have parents that are living and you have a good relationship with them, then take steps to talk to them about this topic, to reflect on what you need from them or what you can offer them before they're gone. And conversely, if you don't have a good relationship with a parent, to see if there's any steps you can take to heal from that before they're gone.
Words to live by, no doubt.
If you're struggling with family, friends, or coworkers, in a bad relationship and wondering what to do, or want a relationship and to set yourself up for success, then we want to talk to you. So make your appointment on Unrelating. Just drop us an email at theunrelatingpodcast@gmail.com to be our next guest.